Hello everybody, Bagels Gaming here. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about the future of World of Tanks. So recently there was the Stream of the Year 2020, where they had a Q&A with the developers of World of Tanks from Wargaming, and the lovely dailybounce.net here, they have translated it into text that English speakers can understand, and we are going to look at it today. I'm going to try and so I've already read through it a couple times, and really I'm gonna try and give you guys my opinion, being that I've played the game for many years, and also in case because some of these things imply very specific things that are kind of interesting gameplay features that I don't think other people have really touched up on in detail. So first, we're gonna start with the HE shells rebalance. I have some pretty big opinions of this one. So they first said that damage will calculate based on where the shell lands exactly. So, as you know, when you fire HE shells, it does matter where you shoot. Because if you shoot at, like, here, we'll use the M4 Sherman as an example. So, the armor is 50 millimeters here, and if you go to, like, live model and whatever, it doesn't matter because it's HE. But here in the collision model, right? So, 50 millimeters of hull armor on the M4 Sherman. Now, if I was firing the, do I have the 105? Okay, yes I do. Wait, I want to compare this to the 105 derp. Okay, there we go. So, if I have the 105 HE derp gun on the M4 Sherman, what we basically have right now in the game is, so I can shoot the frontal plate of this tank, and because it's 410 alpha and it cannot penetrate about the 80 millimeters of effective armor here, then it says there's a bounce. What I'll do is about a quarter of that damage, maybe like 100 damage or something like that. Now, what I could do, because if you look over here, the armor thickness of this top plate is 12.7 millimeters. Obviously, you cannot overmatch it because HE cannot penetrate like plates that are bigger. And if I had an AP round, I could overmatch that. Now, what I could do if I was fighting another M4 Sherman with the derp gun is I could aim for here in the current game, and because the splash radius will be like in here, it'll calculate more damage, probably closer to 200 or half of my alpha damage with the HE, but not fully penetrating for 400, but doing about 200 damage because it splashes down into this 12.7 millimeter plate, which does a lot more damage than if I did just the front of the turret. And you could see why this would affect the game quite a lot, because that just means click, 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 click anywhere on the turret, and it splashes down on this whole roof that's so much weaker. And it applies to bigger tanks as well and higher tiers. So basically, what Wargaming are saying they want to do is they want to make it calculate based on. So the turret armor is 63 millimeters thick rather than 50 millimeters. So rather than making it do 200 damage because it's splashing into this, it'll calculate based on hitting this plate. So that means if I were to fire just willy-nilly HE at the turret, it's going to be a lot worse because if I hit the mantlet, it's like 200 millimeters of effective compared to my HE shell, or 120 millimeters. So I'll probably do like 60 damage. It won't splash down, and if I hit here, it's going to calculate based on 77 millimeters, not splashing down into a lightly armored plate and doing 200 damage. So basically, it's HE shells will not have like the kind of splash that they have now. They'll more calculate based on where, like how thick the armor is where it hits, which means you'll have to aim more for either weak points, like this is slightly flatter, or you won't be able to just click at the turret. You want to aim for the hull, maybe go for these like driver's hatches because they're thinner thickness or something, or alternatively shoot the side because it's a thinner plate. Now we don't know if the armor angling is going to matter much, or if it's just going to be the thickness, like how this is 63 on the turret, 50 on the hull, or 38. So we don't know. But hopefully they'll explain that more as the HE shell rebalance comes into play. So they further expand on that, saying they want players to have to aim more with HE shells and figure out where they actually want to shoot rather than just clicking. So this is an interesting comment. They want to eliminate the spam HE anywhere to deal damage. I feel like they should clarify this a little bit more, because obviously if you fire HE, I feel like it should do damage majority of the time, unless, like, if I shoot at the turret of the M4 Sherman in the mantlet where it's its thickest with HE, I expect to do damage with the derp gun or, the 76. It's not the best aiming, but I should still get like maybe 10 or 20 damage, and I feel like that's where it should be. It should scale based on, like, they have a good idea, but I want to make sure whether or not Wargaming are going to, like, you need to aim, kind of like armor piercing. Like, if I can't pen this with heat, like, I don't know if I can pen it with heat. I can't, according to this. Like, if they made it like heat or AP, where you have to, like, really be a thin plate in order to deal damage, that would just completely make HE rounds useless. So I hope they make it to where HE will still do some damage. Just like, I mean, think about it, right? If I do 20 damage to a 500 HP tank, it's not doing that much, especially if I'm using the derp gun and I do that. I'm reloading for 7 seconds. He can come out around the corner and pen me with, a heat round, or do more damage with HE because they have 7 seconds of time to aim and do damage. I feel like doing some kind of damage is very important no matter where you hit with HE, because the priority reason for using HE on guns like a 76mm that suck, like, you're not going to find very many things you can pen with 38mm of penetration. What that HE does is to get that 1 point of damage or that extra bit of module damage to reset a cap circle. That is very important, and hopefully Wargaming will keep that kind of thing in the game. But we'll have to wait to see. They stress that it will be on the sandbox first, and that's just because the last HE rebalance test was not very popular. They also mentioned that they want Spaced Armor to play a bigger part against HE, so probably similar to, like, with the mantlet of the M4 there, because it's Spaced Armor. And I personally think Wargaming should expand this. They should expand this to heat, because I think heat should be far more effective against, Spaced Armor should be far more effective against heat shells, because in my experience, there are some times when I can just track and heat pen people over and over again, and then there's other times where I can't. It's so inconsistent, and sometimes it'll be with the same tank. Like, I'll just be shooting at a 140 with my 140's heat rounds because I run out of AP or something, or I'm just being too lazy to switch to APCR, and I'm just spamming heat penning them, keeping them tracked, penning them, doing damage, and they can't do anything about it. And then other times, I do the same exact thing, and guess what? The heat shells do not penetrate and do damage. So then I'm just there doing no damage, no damage, no damage, and they pen me and kill me. It's so inconsistent, and I think it should just be consistently, if you're firing heat into tracks, it just doesn't penetrate. Because it's so annoying that the drawback of the shell being weak against spaced armor is not even the case in a lot of situations where, that little bit of knowledge of, hey, my heat shells don't work against tracks, could mean the difference between outplaying an opponent or not. I think it would make the game a lot more consistent and more balanced. The next thing we have is a rebalance of SPGs. So the SPGs are going to have new types of shells, and I like this. So the theory of this is very, very big for me, right? So SPGs having new types of shells. The first one, they say, is going to have stun and fixed damage with a bigger splash. So what this is a very big thing, and I like this. Fixed damage. This is something that other people who've read through the um, Q&A here overlook. So fixed damage is, and I made a little thing here to visualize it better. So what they mean by fixed damage, and this is what I'm assuming, is so this is the standard HE we have right now, and I'm assuming this will become premium because it'll just straight up do damage and not have stun. And I think 550 for, and in our case we're using the M44 as an example, is plenty of damage because it'll splash for like 2 or 300. But you can see, so if you penetrate with the M44's HE rounds, you can high roll up to 687, or you can low roll down to 412. And they're also proposing an AP round that has more pen but is regular damage. By regular damage, what I'm thinking, and no stun by the way, by that is it's gonna be like average damage based on the reload because decently long reload. And then by regular damage, they mean there's a plus 25% roll and a minus 25% roll. So let's say, for instance, this is hypothetical damage numbers, by the way, that AP round on the M44 does 320 damage if it penetrates. So that means it could roll for 400 or roll for 240, anywhere in that range. That's what they mean by regular damage. Now, fixed damage in this new proposed heat round or HE round. Sorry, let me correct that. This new proposed HE round for artillery will be like this. You'll get the stun like normal. Also, the other ones don't have stun. So you get like 7 seconds of stun and a fixed 250 damage. Now, this could mean that when you hit them, you're guaranteed to do 250 flat damage, no matter what, and you're stunning for 7 seconds. And this brings in a lot of questions, for the game, So because it has a higher splash, and I'm gonna stun. So I know I'm gonna stun for like 7 seconds with the M44. So what happens if I miss? Is the miss damage fixed too? So is it gonna be like 50%? Like, okay, you miss, so it's gonna be 50% of this 250, so 125 if you miss. Because if it's going to be fixed damage when you hit someone, that means it should be fixed damage when you miss someone. And you got to be very clear about the range in which you do the damage, because 125 damage might not be that much at tier 6. But if I'm missing by like a lot and I keep hitting them for 125, that's going to add up, especially with 7 seconds. Damage fall off range kind of goes with that, with the miss damage. It's like, so at what point do you not do damage and only stun? I think that's a good thing. And is the damage just going to be based on the hit? So I feel like they need to clarify that too. Is the damage going to be based on a direct hit, or is it going to be like if it hits a module, it doesn't do that much? These are the questions we need to ask. And will it be considered like an auto pen? Because if you think about it, if I just hit a tank with a shell and it has fixed damage no matter what, 250, it's basically an auto pen. So I'm basically penning every time for 250, 250, 250, flat. So is that what it's going to be? And then, actual damage number is a big question here because I doubt it's going to be like 250 for the fixed damage on the M44 specifically, but I want to know what Wargaming's thinking with this. Like if because this is a very big change if it goes into the game, and I really want to know where they're going to take this, and we should really gauge how powerful artillery are going to become based on what their fixed damage is going to be and what their AP damage is going to look like, because it should definitely be lower than the HE that does a lot of damage, and it should, like, literally, if you look at my hypothetical numbers, I'm going with like 50% or less damage compared to the HE that just click and do damage, because I know what we're all experiencing at high tier. T92 is hitting you for 600 damage and stunning you for like 20 seconds. That's a lot. And I don't want that to be a fixed damage number, because if they're hitting you for 400, that's literally like just, oh, click, click. It's like doing a T110E5's damage automatically, and we're stunning them. Yeah, just click them. It really needs to be like very specific, and it needs to not be game breaking, because if you're doing too much damage with fixed damage, you are going to just annihilate heavy tanks, medium tanks, light tanks, any tank that you're hitting. And if it's too low, it just makes artilleries useless. So, this is going to be a very big change, and how they do it is going to really make or break the game. So each type of shell will have different trajectories, which I think is a pretty interesting thing. Although it might be a little bit hard to fully, grasp that and learn that unless they put those stats in the garage. It'd be pretty cool. The idea is to create a different experience using SPG in the game, and I think that's a great idea. SPG should be different from just top-down, click, click, click experience. It should be more active, more dynamic. There will be a reduced reload if you are fully loaded and decide to change shell types. I like this decision because if it goes back to this, that's a really good idea. You want to, if you're going to make your choice of shells very dependent on the situation, you should encourage people to really focus on which shells and understand how they work, learn what situations to use them in, and the best way to do that is to make a substantially faster reload, maybe like reloads 50% faster than normal when you're switching to a different shell type. I think that could be pretty cool if you're fully loaded. So developers are considering implementing SPG 6 Sense. The way it works is if an SPG makes a shot, the player will see an indicator an SPG made a shot. Few seconds only, not making massive difference in gameplay, but gives the player the opportunity to move. So the way I'm seeing this is it's a lot like World of Warships, where if you have that one commander skill that pretty much, if you get shot at and it's going to take 15 seconds to hit you, it goes like, hey, somebody shot at you. It's going to take 15 seconds to hit you. May as well start moving. And you have a better chance to dodge, unless they gave proper lead. So the way I'm seeing that is it's going to be very similar, except as soon as they shoot and they're aimed at you, you'll get the notification, and you might have a better chance of moving or turning your armor differently, so then you have a better chance to take less damage or not take any damage at all, depending on what vehicle you are. Because obviously, if you're a heavy tank, you're not really getting out of the way. You could only probably just move your armor and angle better to take less damage. Okay. Um, Another big change will be the introduction of siege mode to SPG, and they will only be able to fire in siege mode and not outside of it. I think this is a really cool thing. I'm curious on how exactly they're going to implement the siege mode. Like, how fast will it be to switch to siege mode? That's going to be very important for artillery. You know, how long does it take to get out of siege mode? The mobility during siege mode as well. Those are going to be very important. So I'm going to be very excited to find out what they do with that. I think that's a great idea. Tracers will make a return to the game and have a strong color, so counter SPG will be possible and easier. I love this. I love this so much because I think the biggest thing that an SPG could do, especially when you have 3 on your team and 3 on the enemy team, if even one of your SPGs is countering the enemy arty, you're at an advantage because you really only need 2 artillery. One artillery can hold down an entire flank by just stunning everyone constantly. It's just insanely powerful, the stun on artillery. And if you have any artilleries just countering, the second the enemy team have no artillery, it does a number of things. It boosts your team's confidence, so your team plays much more aggressively, much better and more confident in their abilities. The second thing is it removes the worry for your team's artillery. So now they can just fully unload those shells into the enemy team because they're worried too. They might get countered. Who knows? So I mean, if they're a decent artillery player, they might be countered, and they're going to be extra aware of that. Maybe spending an extra 10 seconds or so not shooting the enemy to make sure that they're in safe new position so they are going to not get sniped by enemy artillery. There will be a splash zone area that can be seen by SPG players, making it easier to understand if the splash will hit a target behind the cover. So this sounds like it's going to be like another circle on top of the aim circle. So there's going to be an aim circle, and then there's going to be your splash radius circle, and it'll conform just like the aim circle does, depending on the terrain, so then you can know exactly how your splash is going to work. I think that's a great idea. The minimap will show indicators where SPG made a shot that hit. Not precise, just the area. There's no final decision on how long the indicator will last, but will give an important information for players. Now, I think this is a cool thing, but I also think, based on what they're saying here, they're giving it to everyone. I do not think this should be given to everyone. This should be only shown to artillery players. So, if an enemy artillery hits a shot, the only people who should get the ping is the artillery on your team, if they're alive. If they're dead, then too much information. But if they're alive, they get the ping, and that way it does two things. One, it encourages that artillery to maybe consider countering, because you know a rough idea, probably the sector in which the artillery is in, or was in before, they might relocate. So it might encourage them to either, counter battery. And here's the other big thing. It encourages more teamwork. And World of Tanks needs a little bit more teamwork because, World of Tanks teams struggle a lot. And how many times have we sat down, watched a YouTube video, and there's only 2 or 3 players who are doing, actually working together like a team out of 15 players, and those 2 or 3 players make the difference and win the game. Imagine how much better it would be for the community if artillery were able to communicate to their team in ways that, because let's be honest, people don't like the artillery class. They don't like to play against the artillery class. But it would make it a lot more bearable if your artilleries were good players and they're like, hey guys, they're up in roughly A4, so they're in A4. Pay attention, look at the line of sight, from A4, and move so then you don't get hit by the artillery that's in A4. They're there now. Encourages more use of team chat, teamwork, and I think that's what Wargaming wants to do. That's why they overhauled the entire in-game chat thing, although I think affirmative and negative should still be on the dial thing for where you can, say you're attacking this or whatever. It should be there because it's way easier to just press Z and move my mouse to it than it is to press whatever F key is on. Next, Crew System 2.0. Okay. New crew system will have 75 levels. I do not like that. I do not like 75. That sounds horrifying. What does that even mean, Wargaming? 75 levels? That sounds terrible. Just hearing that first thing, 75 levels sounds horrible, because that sounds like a lot of stuff to pay attention to, and it's just going to be hard. When you say there's going to be 75 levels of crew skills, then that means there's going to be a lot of stuff that's either going to be useless or very, 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 very specific, and that's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun to, go through all of that. The new skill perk tree, and the italicize that, will allow varied choice to make different builds. I like this. This sounds pretty cool. So it's like a kind of tech tree within your crew to figure out what skills you want and whatnot. I think that could be pretty cool, but I don't like 75 levels unless, they show it's like, is it 75 different skills? Or is it literally 75 different levels to get those skills? I don't know how it works. We just need more clarification. I'm not saying it's completely bad. I'm not saying it's completely good. I'm just saying we really, really need some more clarification for this. Sixth Sense will come as default to every crew. I think that could be pretty cool. They could even, if they're going to do the skill or perk tech tree thing, have it start have it start at 6 cents. Why not? You know, have it start like 6 cents is at 0, so then you see it and it'd be pretty cool. You have the cool design or whatever. Or not, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But 6 cents comes as default. That's great. Tank crews will be reduced to 1 member. No more 3, 4, 5, 6 crew members in each tank. Okay, so this I think is going to be very problematic. So I recently looked at the console commander system. They have some interesting things, and we'll talk about that as we go down here. But I personally, I am very, very um kind of hesitant about liking this because what does this mean? For me, it says one crew will be trained for up to 3 tanks and will still use any premium tanks of the same class or nation for free. So I have one crew member that can be used on 3 different tanks and any premium tanks that I want, as long as it's the same class and nation. Okay, yeah. That's weird. Um, Introduction of crew instructors will give extra points to certain perks and skills. I don't really like that because that sounds like premium commanders. So, in case you guys don't know, which you might not if you're watching this and you play PC, because I didn't know, um, console has only the commanders, and they have like a tree of like kind of like World of Warships where they pick different skills for the commander to have for the vehicle. They have 3 different types of commanders. Standard commanders, who earn XP at a normal rate and have 1 skill slot. Premium commanders, apparently they have premium commanders, so I'm assuming they cost money, and they earn 15% more bonus XP, and they get 2 slots. So kind of like what we have for BIA crew. And then hero commanders, which are above that, which get 30% and 3 skill slots. That sounds so pay to win, and I do not want them to be implementing anything like that in this game because it is already super strong tanks at tier 8 premium, and I do not want to have crew members that are so premium that they are the only thing people will ever want, and the wargaming will be able to just sell crew members to make your tank better. I do not like how it gives extra points to certain perks and skills. What does that even mean? And I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna need some like actual clarification on this from wargaming. But honestly, what does that even mean? Is that like gives extra points to certain perks and skills? Okay, so if it's repairs and it gives extra points to repairs, does that mean you can repair faster with crew instructors, which are obviously better than regular crews? So you can repair faster on like say a Doom Turtle, and you can only get that crew member if you spent money and got the crew commander in a box like Santa Claus. Okay. Okay. That sounds pretty terrible. Or it's like camouflage, where you get more points into it, so you get better camo rating, so you can make your E25 even more invisible. But obviously, you gotta have the Santa Claus from the boxes from the other years ago, or if they sell another commander. Yeah, you can see where I'm going with this, right? This sounds like a terrible idea. I feel like it should be so. As much as I'm, tearing at the console pay to win commander thing, I'm going to mention that their skills are pretty interesting. So, adrenaline rush, armor angling, I don't like that. That's terrible. But born leader, effective 10% effectiveness to all skills and commander effect. So it's kind of like Brothers in Arms, camouflage expertise. These are cool. You select them and pick them for your tank. Like if you pick camo rating, then you can't pick something else, like extend the radio range or whatever. It like locks out another skill or something. That could be cool. But if it goes like, oh, camouflage starts out at level 0, and you need to level this up to level 10 to get full 10% camouflage, but crew instructors get more points. That literally is a pay-to-win aspect that I do not want in the game. I think it's terrible, and new players are just going to hate that because you're literally going to be forcing them to pay for crew members, which is just going to be dumb. Like, let's be real. If you want to play World of Tanks past tier 7, you need to purchase a tier A premium at some point in time to keep up the credit income to actually be able to afford to play tier 10s, because tier 10s suck in terms of profits. And if you also, on top of that, make premium crew members that literally just make certain skills better, faster for players who purchase them, or do some kind of thing where it costs money, even if it's indirect, like through loot boxes, it'll just be annoying as fuck. I'm just gonna be honest, it's annoying as fuck if that's what they do. Crew rework won't make you lose perks or skills. Conversion system will make sure that all the hard work into crews won't be lost. So this is something I'm very curious about because this could either break or make the game. So talking about me, I have a 5-skill IS crew. 5-skill IS crew. Pretty respectable. Not gonna lie. It's my best crew in the game. I've spent maybe about 4,000 games across the IS, Defender, 7772, whatever other premium tanks that I got in rentals from Soviet Tech Tree. I put my IS crew in there and I've trained them because I love the IS and I wanted to get a good crew for it. And so it's my best crew, 5 skills. What they do here is very important because if they go down to a 1 crew system, they have 2 options to give me proper compensation for my work of 4,000 games on my IS crew. They could do 1, either make every single one of my 4-person IS crew a new commander with, the equivalent of whatever training 5 crew skills is in the new system, or they're going to give me 1 commander from the IS that has enough crew points to be worth 5 skills on all 4 members. And either way, it's going to be a very hard thing to balance because there are going to be people who, think about it from my perspective. If I get 4 commanders out of it, if they do with option 1, 4 commanders, and I can put each one into 3 different tanks and any premium tanks, I have more than enough commanders for all of the Soviet heavy tanks in the game. If we, talk about adding in my other Soviet commander heavy tanks, that's Soviet heavy tank commanders, they already have. Boom! You just wasted any reason to grind crews for the Soviet heavy tanks for me. Thank you. If they do it the other way, and I'm just gonna have a super strong 1 commander, like crazy strong 1 commander that I can use for 3 different tanks and any premium tanks. So, yeah, they're gonna have to really balance the retraining or the training for 3 tanks. I don't know if I really like training for up to 3 tanks. For that reason, because it makes it to where people can be way too strong way too quickly. And of course, the any premium tanks of the same class, same nation, I think that's a great option. But I don't think you should be able to use the same commander on on like other tanks. You should have to choose a tank for them. You can switch them out. By all means, switch them out, but at a penalty to retrain, or don't retrain and they'll be slightly worse, maybe 10-20% worse, like I do with my Easy 8. I just put my Pilot 1 crew in there, and I don't care that they're 85%, not 100%, because they have so many crew skills. It's just very, very important in wargaming that you get this right. And please, please update us, for the love of God. Update us on how you're going to do this, because especially because you want to make unique crews. Like, New Year and female crews have a purpose in the new system, and I do not want them to be so pay to win or broken, right? Conversion rate system will be more detailed with the release of the first sandbox. Thank you. I'm hoping Wargaming, like, these are good changes. I like the ideas. It can be very beneficial to the game. I just want to reiterate that you guys need to really think of it, and please update the community. People like me just love this game to bits, and it would just be great if the game, doesn't get fucking ruined by changes that aren't done well. Like, I don't know why 75 levels has to be a thing. But who knows? Maybe 75 levels will make sense later on. Battle Pass changes. The Battle Pass will come with 3 tanks instead of 2. I like this change because right now, with the way Battle Passes are being like 3 months, and there's only going to be 2 tanks, they're always going to be the popular tanks like the Patton, the T125, or like a newly buffed tank like the IS-4. And there are so many tanks in this game, it's just going to be so hard to get them. So what they could do is, 2 popular tanks or something, and then 1 unpopular tank that will probably never get a battle pass because it's just not popular. But there are people who like that tank, so fair enough. I think that will mean we'll get more tanks, more styles faster. That'd be cool. There will be different acts, and you'll get different stages and choose from different players, for all the players. That's good. I like that. New styles will be given early in the past and will be a progression for each style. So I think that's pretty cool. But considering your style changes based on how far you've progressed in the thing, I do wonder how that's really gonna work. Because some, like, the styles, they look good, but I'm not sure if you take away 90% of the style if it's still gonna look good, right? So I don't know how I fully feel about that. Obviously, it's not gonna be a problem for me because I can complete the battle pass, but you know, I hope the styles still look okay. Points will battle pass will be able to be earned during ranked battles now, not just random battles. I think that's a cool thing. So then people can do more things at the same time. It makes it better, um, because it's pretty grindy if you have to do ranked battles and then right after you're done killing yourself with ranked battles, then doing a bunch of random battles with. You guys know how teams are. Maps training. Players will be able to practice maps. The mode will work like training rooms, but with more options, etc., enabling players to learn how to play certain areas, etc. So I wonder how this is gonna work. This sounds like a very interesting thing. Like, maybe there will be bots, and then you can like fight. Like, you can spawn in like a different area of the map, develop a strategy, spawn some bots in or whatever. I think this could be pretty cool. This could be a pretty cool option, and I think this is kind of in case you guys don't know, I did ask Wargaming during one of their community streams what they were thinking about esports, and they're thinking about bringing it in, and they're trying to figure out how they would want to do it. I think this is a sign of what they're trying to do with it, because map training, you don't really think about it, right? If you're in random battles, but say you're going to do like esports, then this could be something that's very important for those players and for people who view the game, because they might want to be like, oh, well, I saw that on esports, so maybe it'll work in random battles. Let's test it. Oh, it doesn't work in random battles. Okay, but it does work there, etc. Italian heavy tanks coming with 1.11. That's cool. Blah 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 blah. We already know what those do. Czech tanks. Not much was announced, but they have a new branch of Czech heavy tanks coming to the game. That sounds amazing to me because, I mean, Czech needs some more things. Port map will make a return, completely reworked, and I do agree with the completely part because this is looking pretty different from what it used to be, but it definitely looks pretty cool. So I'm glad that's gonna happen. Events, they're going to do the last waffle event's going to make a return in 2021. No major changes. I think they should develop the story more. Wargaming is making a lore and story for the game they should develop it more. Steel Hunter's gonna return in 2021, and there'll be small changes. It's gonna be cool. Frontline's gonna be returning later in the year, and Halloween was a big hit. I like how they say after the fiasco of 2019 when there was no Halloween event. That was very annoying. And it will make a return in 2021. I hope they make changes to it. There's like this huge lore combining the last Waffle event and Mirny 13. So I hope they bring it back, but make changes that kind of like a story change and a little bit of gameplay maybe. Give us new tanks with it, stuff like that. Make it cool and different, but also the same. That'd be fine. There's gonna be a new platoon search system. That sounds cool, and I like this a lot. Other players' tanks will show in your garage too. I think that's a cool option. They're gonna have team clans thing with EU contributors, developers. Don't want to disclose nation or new nations because it takes a lot of time. Makes sense. No plans to introduce tanks above tier 10. Yep. Rebalances some tanks. No details on which they were. No plans to improve training rooms. Okay. No plans to introduce skill-based matchmaking. And I think that's a relatively okay thing because that's what ranked is for. And ranked is pretty skill-based based on, how you win. Maybe they could still change ranked a little bit or make a different game mode that could be a skill-based thing. I don't know. But they don't have any plans for it right now. They don't want to introduce new wheeled vehicles due to bad feedback. Yes, I think wheeled vehicles definitely still need to be fixed because there's just a bit too much in my opinion in aspects that I don't think they should be. Homefront, so that's like Battle for Berlin might make a return, but they don't have any. They have new ideas, but they're not sure. Ammo rebalance on standby. So that's good. They're planning on rebalancing the ammunition. I think that's a good way to go. The SPG rework, like I said, is going to be a very big change considering they're making every shell very different for the artillery. The shells are going to be very different. They're going to do very different things. It's definitely going towards that idea that I had with how premium shells should not be a thing. It should just be another shell type, and they should all cost the same amount of credits. There shouldn't be this special shell that costs more money but gets you better pen. It's like straight up better. It shouldn't be like that. It should be a shell that works in different situations compared to the other shells, and there's no drawback from using anything, just pure, skill of knowing what the shell is used for. Unpopular tanks could be buffed. No plans to rework RNG. There are plans to improve blueprint system. Okay. Players might be able to convert blueprint fragments. That could be pretty cool because there are some nations where I just don't need any more blueprint fragments. No plans to introduce smoke grenades. I think that's a terrible idea. They should never introduce those. I'm glad that they said there's no plans to introduce them. No plans to introduce a regular customizable garage like the holiday ops. I think they could definitely do some things with this. They could definitely do some things with this. Yeah, so I think they could probably make a garage for that. Shout out to Harkonnen. He's the author of this article here on the dailybounce.net. Honestly, this place is such a good place for information on world tanks. If you don't use them, then I don't know. They have a lot of good articles. As you can see, this is a very big information to share with the community, and this is why I like world tanks. Our community is strong at being together with our thoughts. Apparently not war games with this, but aside from that, a lot of these changes look really good. We just need more information. And yeah, anyways, Bales Gaming here. Peace out.